Welcome to Money Signals. Today we are performing an autopsy on the greatest economic engine in history, the American middle class. 1. The golden age of the single income. Close your eyes and imagine the year 1965. A single high school graduate could work a 40-hour week at a local factory or office. With that one paycheck, they could afford a 3-bedroom house, a new car every few years, a family vacation to the coast, and still have enough left over to put into a savings account that actually earned interest. This wasn't a fairy tale, it was the reality of the American dream. The social contract was simple. If you worked hard and played by the rules, the system would provide you with a stable, upwardly mobile life. But somewhere along the line, that contract was shredded. Today, we see a different reality. Dual-income households are struggling to pay rent in suburbs that were built for single-income families 50 years ago. People with master's degrees are driving Ubers to cover their health insurance premiums. The dream has been replaced by a survival race. The statistical disconnect. Since the 1970s, worker productivity has soared by over 60%, but real hourly wages have barely budged, rising less than 50%. The wealth gap. In 1970, the middle class held 62% of aggregate household income. Today, that number has plummeted to less than 42%. The cost of entry, the barrier to entry for a middle-class life, housing, education, and healthcare has outpaced inflation by hundreds of percentage points. 1971, the year everything changed. If you want to find the murder weapon used on the American dream, you have to look at August 15th, 1971. This was the day President Richard Nixon temporarily suspended the convertibility of the US dollar into gold. Before 1971, the dollar was anchored. You couldn't just print money out of thin air because every dollar represented a physical amount of gold. This forced the government to be fiscally responsible. But once the anchor was cut, the era of fiat currency began. The productivity wage gap. This is the exact moment when the lines on the graph diverged. Productivity kept going up, but the rewards for that productivity stopped going to the workers and started going to the owners of capital. The inflationary tax. When the government prints money to fund deficits, they aren't creating wealth. They are diluting the value of the dollars already in your pocket. This is a hidden tax that hits the middle class and the poor the hardest because they don't own enough assets that rise with inflation. Financialization. Instead of making things, the economy shifted toward moving money around. Wall Street became the center of the universe, and the Main Street economy of manufacturing and local services was left to rot. 3. The housing trap, renting your life from billionaires. The centerpiece of the American dream was always home ownership. It was the primary way middle-class families built equity and passed wealth to the next generation. But today, the starter home is an endangered species. The institutional invasion. We've discussed this before on Money Signals, but it bears repeating. Giants like BlackRock and Vanguard-backed entities are buying up thousands of single-family homes. They aren't buying them to flip them, they are buying them to create a permanent renter class. Supply versus regulation. Strict zoning laws and not in my backyard. NIMBY mentalities have made it nearly impossible to build affordable housing. When supply is restricted and demand is subsidized by low interest rates, prices explode. The math of despair. In the 1970s, the average home cost about 3x the average annual salary. Today, in many metropolitan areas, that ratio is 8x, 10x, or even 12x. You are no longer competing against your neighbor to buy a house. You are competing against a multi-billion-dollar algorithm that can outbid you with cash in seconds. Before we dive into the debt bubble and the healthcare crisis, if you find this deep dive valuable, hit the subscribe button for money signals. Our mission is to cut through the noise of mainstream finance and give you the signals you need to protect your wealth in an era of unprecedented economic shifts. Don't let the system catch you off guard. Turn on notifications and join our community of informed investors. Now, back to the script. 4. The education and healthcare extortion. If housing didn't break you, the twin pillars of debt certainly will. We are told that education is the way out of poverty, and healthcare is a human right. In reality, both have become debt traps designed to keep you on the hedonic treadmill for life. The college industrial complex. Since 1980, the cost of college tuition has increased by over 1,200%. Why? Because the government guaranteed student loans. When the customer has access to infinite borrowed money, the provider, the university, has no incentive to keep costs low. We now have $1.7 trillion in student debt, preventing an entire generation from starting businesses or buying homes. Healthcare bankruptcy. The US spends more on healthcare per capita than any other nation, yet our outcomes often lag behind. A single medical emergency is the leading cause of bankruptcy in America. Even with insurance, the deductibles and premiums are high enough to wipe out a middle-class savings account in weeks. The middle-class squeeze. If you are poor, you get subsidies. If you are rich, you don't care about the cost. But if you are middle class, you earn too much for help and too little to afford the rising costs comfortably. You are squeezed from both sides. 5. The illusion of low inflation. The government tells you inflation is 2% or 3%. But anyone who buys groceries, pays for insurance, or fills up a gas tank knows that's a lie. Hedonics and substitution. The way the Consumer Price Index, CPI, is calculated has been changed multiple times to hide the true cost of living. If steak gets too expensive, the CPI assumes you buy hamburger meat and says inflation hasn't changed. This substitution ignores the fact that your quality of life is declining. Shrinkflation. You're paying the same price for a box of cereal, but the box is 20% smaller. This is the invisible thief, the Cantillon effect. When new money is printed, the people closest to the source, banks and big corporations, get to spend it first while prices are still low. By the time that money trickles down to you, prices have already risen. The rich get richer by being first in line. The middle class gets poorer by being last. 6. The debt-fueled life. Since wages haven't kept up with the cost of living, the middle class has maintained its lifestyle through one thing: credit. The credit card crutch. Credit card debt in the US has hit record highs, surpassing $1 trillion. People aren't using credit cards for luxury, they are using them for groceries and utilities. The auto loan bubble, 7-year car loans are now common. People are underwater on their vehicles the moment they drive off the lot. The breaking point. Interest rates have risen to fight the very inflation the government created. This means the cost of servicing that massive debt is skyrocketing. The doom loop we've discussed in previous videos is no longer a theory, it's a mathematical certainty. 7. The technological coup d'etat. As if the financial system wasn't enough of a challenge, the middle class now faces a new threat: the artificial intelligence revolution. White-collar displacement. In the past, automation replaced factory workers. This time, AI is coming for the knowledge workers, accountants, paralegals, middle managers, and coders. These are the traditional roles of the middle class. The K-shaped recovery. Technology is creating a massive divide. Those who own the AI and the platforms will see exponential wealth growth. Those who perform tasks that can be automated will see their wages driven down to zero. The 2026 trap. We are approaching a window where the cost of living peaks just as the demand for human labor in the middle class hits a generational low. This is the middle class trap that we warned about in our 2026 forecast. 8. How to escape the disappearing middle class. We don't talk about these things just to be doomers. We talk about them so you can prepare. The old rules of go to school, get a job, and save money are dead. You need a new playbook. Stop saving cash. In a world of infinite printing, cash is trash. You must hold hard assets, Bitcoin, gold, real estate, if you can afford it, or productive businesses. Skill up for the new economy. Don't rely on a degree from 10 years ago. Learn how to leverage AI, understand global finance, and build multiple streams of income. Become unfireable. The gig economy is volatile. Your security no longer comes from a company. It comes from your personal brand and your specialized skill set. Avoid consumer debt. If it doesn't make you money, don't borrow money to buy it. High-interest debt is the shackles of the modern slave. The American dream isn't dead, but it has changed. It is no longer a gift handed to you for showing up. It is something you have to fight for, strategize for, and protect with everything you have. The middle class is disappearing because the system that sustained it has been fundamentally altered. The question is, will you disappear with it, or will you adapt and thrive in the new reality? What do you think? Is there any way to save the middle class, or are we heading toward a new era of neo-feudalism? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. Share this video. If you know someone who is struggling to understand why their hard work isn't paying off, send them this video. They need to see the signals. Stay informed. Subscribe to Money Signals for more deep dives into the global economy, personal finance, and the truth behind the headlines. Thank you for watching. Stay vigilant, stay invested, and we'll see you in the next one. This is Money Signals. Over and out.